Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Unscripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you once again for joining me. Oh my god, we're so close to the end of this. I cannot believe it. That has been a very fast 8 weeks. Wow. So, yeah. Last Jedi. We are here today to talk about episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now, this is exciting for me because this was actually the second time I have ever seen this movie. I only ever saw it once in the cinema. I think I just didn't either get the time to go again because it comes out around Christmas, so things are a bit hectic for me in my life around Christmas time because of my job. So yeah, I may not have just gotten time, I guess, I don't know. Or that and the fact that, like, I remember not really loving it enough to go see it again. I'm like, I think I'll wait and watch it again later. Didn't think it would take me almost exactly 2 years to watch it again. So for shame on me, feel free to at me about that. But nevertheless, I have rewatched it and I am happy to say it is definitely better on a rewatch. The hype for this film in 2017 was through the roof. The trailers were really, really good, and the story was continuing, especially with the way Force Awakens ends, with Rey, holding out Luke's lightsaber to him on Ahch-To, and that's the cliffhanger ending. So everyone was just like, what's going to happen? There was so many expectations for this movie, and I think because we were really just expecting something grand and epic and holy crap, considering we all really loved Force Awakens despite its similarities to A New Hope. We still really, really loved it, wanted more of that, and the potential for it was great. So so when we saw Last Jedi and the way things turned out, like, Luke even has, pretty sure Luke is the one, he has a line in The Last Jedi that says, "This is not going to go the way you think." And that's exactly how you sum up this movie, because, we went from building up Rey's parents as these, grand, mysterious figures that could be maybe Jedi or something, or maybe Luke is her father, parallels and whatnot, and there was such a big mystery to what her parentage is, and in this film it's basically torn asunder, and Rey even says it, her parents were nobody, and Kylo Ren's like they were filthy junk traders is the exact phrase. So whether or not that's actually true, it remains to be seen, although it does, when I rewatched it, the scene where Kylo and Rey are discussing that, it does seem very truthful to me. But who knows, I just feel like I'm still holding on to hope that her parents are important, people, or that at least explain why she is the way she is, how powerful she is, or I could just accept the fact that she's just an anomaly and is just super force sensitive. Anakin Skywalker was an anomaly. The theory of him being, created by the Emperor from midi-chlorians is a theory. And I can get behind it, or I cannot get behind it. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. But, he was, in terms of, he came from nothing. I'm like, Shmi is nothing special. She was a beautiful woman and a great mother, but she wasn't this all-powerful Jedi master. So Rey could be the same thing. Rey could be, if this theory about, the Emperor creating Anakin, maybe the Emperor has created Rey to, help. Maybe that's how the Emperor is in Rise of Skywalker, something to do with, Rey bringing him back, or who knows, or him creating Rey for his purposes again. Who knows? We'll find out next week, but more on that next week. So that's torn asunder, and then the very first shot of the film also sums up the whole film. The fact that the epic ending of like this lightsaber being stretched out to Luke, and Luke looking all brooding and, oh god, okay, here we go. And then he takes the saber and throws it over his shoulder and throws the entire thing out the window, basically. So it's kind of a nice visual representation of what The Last Jedi, as a film, kind of did to Force Awakens, just threw it away. Nevertheless, despite my initial disappointments with this film, when I first saw it, watching it a second time, like I said, I actually enjoyed it a lot more, knowing what I'm in for, knowing to be like, okay, yeah, it's pretty basic, you know, the main storyline is kind of just the Resistance, you know, being chased by the First Order through space. It's just a chase, that's all it is, they do nothing else. And then, you know, frickin' Finn and Rose are on this casino side quest to Canto Bight, and I remember hating that in the first time I saw it, and I still don't love it, but I like it more now that I know what it is, even though it is a little preachy. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, because it's not exactly like they're, you know, sending any bad messages from, like, trying to, you know, I guess, you know, go after these bad people who are benefiting off the war between the First Order and the Resistance, because these people, a lot of them are arms dealers and warmongers, and you know, they're making money by selling weapons and ships and things of the like to the First Order and the Resistance. So they're playing both sides, and that's very fascinating. That kind of ties into Benicio del Toro's character, DJ, which stands for Don't Join, because he specifically says in the film that he doesn't pick a side, he doesn't join this fight. So, and he plays both sides in the film. You know, he convinces Rose and Finn that he's going to help them, and especially after he gets a slight, you know, payment, which he gives away anyway, but anyway. But, you know, he does that to try and benefit him, and then he sees an opportunity to make a deal with the First Order to spare his life, so he betrays Rose and Finn. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of Canto Bight basically just being this upper class 1% kind of metaphor of, like, you know, ruling over the wealthy, ruling over the poor, and dictating, you know, what goes on, like keeping the war funded and them benefiting. So it's a win-win for them in that aspect. So yeah, I know it's kind of interesting stuff when you really kind of go into it and dissect it. It's an interesting political commentary, and yeah, so on the surface it's a bit preachy and it's a bit meh, it didn't really matter, but this, like, cause I remember just thinking, gosh, this doesn't matter at all, this is a pointless side quest. Like, they didn't even get the code breaker, who was played by Justin Theroux in a cameo, which was cool. You know, we see the code breaker, but then they get arrested before they can actually meet him and grab him. And then, yeah, they ended up with DJ anyway, so, but then he betrayed, yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's a whole lot of stuff going on, so I think maybe it's not as pointless as I originally thought when I watched it, I don't know. But yeah, so you've got that, and then I think the real good stuff in this film comes from Rey and her relationship with Luke and her relationship with Kylo Ren, and how she's kind of caught in the middle between the two of them. Yeah, it's really, really good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. God, I don't even know where to start. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of parallels between Last Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, given that this is the middle film of a trilogy. Both of them are. And of course, you know, Force Awakens heavily references A New Hope and recreates certain plot points. But The Last Jedi does it in a more powerful way and not as often for me. It's more meaningful. So there's a huge parallel between, obviously, Luke and Yoda in this film, because, you know, Yoda obviously trains Luke in Empire Strikes Back, and here we have Luke training Rey, you know, Rey and Luke both respectively go to, you know, the places where they need to be trained, so Dagobah or Ahch-To in this case, in Last Jedi. So I kind of just really liked that, and the fact that Luke he's a bit kooky in some scenes, like a bit odd, a bit eccentric, because, you know, he's become an Obi-Wan figure, he's become a Yoda figure, so he's at that level where he's just kind of, you know, doesn't give a crap anymore, so he's just going to act however he wants. So, which I think is, it's really good, and Mark Hamill does a really, really good job in this film. It was really, really great to see him play Luke again, and he's probably my favourite thing in the film, I think. I don't know, I just really enjoy watching him work. He's awesome. And there's also another parallel between Kylo Ren and Darth Vader. And that's a whole nother interesting kind of thing we can get into, because, you know, Kylo's always trying to imitate his grandfather. He wants to be Darth Vader. He wants to live up to that name, and, you know, I love the fact, like, Snoke is an idiot. I'm sorry. Supreme Leader Snoke is not supreme at all. He thinks he's the shit, but he's really not. So he talks Kylo Ren up like he's, you know, I think you are the next Vader. You could take the mantle, you know, from Lord Vader, be the next Lord Vader, blah, blah, blah. But then he makes fun of him for the helmet he wears. He says, take that ridiculous thing off, is what he says to him in the film, because he wants to see his face and doesn't like the helmet thing. I mean, that's Kylo emulating his grandfather, is having that mask and shielding his face, and, you know, he doesn't need it, obviously, but that was his way of paying homage. And, you know, we see Kylo destroy the mask as well, which is really, really powerful, because it's just another sign of him being manipulated by Snoke. You know, he's already been manipulated by Snoke into joining the dark side, and now, again, he's just like, Snoke says the helmet is ridiculous, so Kylo destroys it. He bends to his will quite easily. But yes, Snoke just kind of builds up Kylo as this Vader-like figure, but then, like, criticizes him for also trying to be like Vader at the same time. It's weird. But nevertheless, yeah, there's a parallel between Kylo and Vader in the fact that after a battle, you know, in this film, the battle where after Kylo Ren kills Snoke, because he's an idiot, and Kylo and Rey fight the Praetorian Guards, and then, you know, Kylo says to Rey, I want you to join me. And that's, you know, it's basically, it's mirroring, you know, the scene from Empire Strikes Back, where after Luke finds out that Vader's his father, you know, Vader says to Luke, you know, join me and we can rule the galaxy as father and son. And in this case, Kylo Ren is asking Rey to join him, so that the villain is asking the hero to join their forces together, so they can rule the galaxy. And, you know, the same thing happened in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin asks Padme to join him and, you know, form a new republic and all of that stuff. So there's lots of little parallels here. Yeah, gosh, it's really, really good. All the stuff to do with Rey and to do with Kylo Ren and Anakin and Snoke, the whole thing, it's just awesome. I love it all. But yeah, Snoke is just one of my problems with this movie that I still have, and I had it 2 years ago and I have it again now, is the fact that Snoke is so, like, I mean, we don't know anything about him. We know nothing about him. You know, that was one of the other big expectations for this film, is, oh, we're going to finally find out who the hell Snoke is, where he came from, what's his role in all of this, why is he the supreme leader, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, he gets killed. And that's fine, but the stupid thing about it is the fact that Snoke, you know, speaks that he can, you know, says that he can see Kylo Ren's intentions, and that he's going to kill his true enemy, and all, like, he speaks so convincingly that Snoke is about to win, and Kylo is going to kill Rey, like he's commanded, you know. And so this is obviously the first time and final time that Kylo disobeys something that Snoke's told him to do, which was murder Rey. But I don't understand how he was, like, unless Snoke is, I mean, he's not a Sith, so there's that. So unless he's not as in touch with the Force as he liked to think he was, and maybe he was just, I don't know, maybe he was just good with words and manipulating Kylo, I don't know. But he was I mean, he's good with the Force, yes, because we see him, you know, move Rey around and move lightsabers around and all of that. So yeah, okay, he's Force sensitive. But how the bloody hell did he not see that Kylo was literally about to kill him and not Rey? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Yes. And then the fact that he said that he was the one responsible for connecting Kylo and Rey, that's kind of clever. If he's telling the truth, that's clever, you know, a good way to manipulate her into, you know, getting her to come to his ship, and so they could have this exchange, and she could reveal where Luke is hiding and all of that stuff. So it was a good little plan, and it worked. But that stuff was really powerful, and I really like the, you know, the to and fro between the light and the dark between both Kylo Ren and Rey, and the fact that Luke compares the two of them directly. Like he says that he's seen the same darkness in Rey in Kylo when he was training him. So, and then the fact that when Luke was training Rey, she went, like, you know, she was meditating and feeling the Force, reaching out with her feelings, all of that, and, you know, she ends up being lured by this dark side of the island of Ahch-To. And Luke's all like, well, this is scary because you didn't resist, you went straight for it. All because she said that, you know, it had answers, it had something that she wanted to know. So, I mean, well, that's the thing about the dark side, it's seductive, it's supposed to have that effect on you. But yeah, the fact that they're so similar, and the fact that they're connected, and the fact that, I don't know, I just really like the parallel between them. The similarities between them is really fascinating, although I don't believe Kylo Ren will be redeemed, because, I mean, I feel like there was a shot there. Rey definitely had a shot, because he definitely did, throughout this film, feel conflicted. I mean, there's that scene with, you know, during one of the initial space battles, where he hesitates because he senses Leia, his mother, on that rebel ship, the Resistance ship, so he doesn't fire, but then his other pilots fly past him and fire and blow it up anyway. So, you know, he's still very conflicted, but then he kills Snoke and decides he wants to become Supreme Leader, and, you know, kind of get rid of the entire system, start afresh, start his way of life that can be the only way of life. And that's another big theme in this film. And another thing that was mentioned in the trailers, and the two quotes, one from Luke, which is, "It's time for the Jedi to end," and then one from Kylo Ren, which is, "Let the past die, kill it if you have to." So both of them want to let the past go. Both of them want the old ways to die, because although it's not expressly stated in the film, I did read in the trivia on IMDb that apparently Luke, the reason why he wants the Jedi to end is because all the Jedi has done is fuel this battle between the Jedi and the Sith that has created so much chaos and so much destruction over the years. So he sees, you know, his end as the Jedi, like him as the Last Jedi, and letting it die out as a way of getting rid of that and putting an end to the war. And his role in it, and the Jedi's role in it. He just wants it to be over and prevent any more pain. makes sense. On the other hand, Kylo Ren has just decided he wants to do the same thing, but for the wrong reasons. You know, he wants to rule and remake the galaxy as he sees fit, and get rid of the Jedi and get rid of the Sith, similar to Luke, but you know, he doesn't want to do it through peace. He wants to just destroy everything and start anew. Whereas Luke's not really too much better in this situation. The fact that he's so defeated because he let Snoke win by, you know, doubting for a split second that he'd turned Ben. Those flashbacks are really, really cool, and I love how they play with the audience, they play with Rey as to who's telling the truth, and I like the fact that we get to see the actual truth, which is that, you know, Luke was lying and that he actually did strike up his lightsaber to kill Kylo Ren, but then regretted it, but it was too late and all of that, so it was a mess. But yeah, God, I was going on a big train of thought then and I've lost it. But anyway, yeah, I just, you know, so Kylo Ren and Luke in that sense are very similar in the fact that they both want to just let the past go and start afresh. And yeah, that's what I was saying, because Luke is just, he loses some of his strength and his resolve because of what happened, because he created Kylo Ren, or he helped to create Kylo Ren, that he gave up the fight. But, you know, he does redeem himself by the end of the story, and it's in amazing fashion. The fact that he force projects himself across the galaxy from Arcto to Crate right at the end of the film and has that fantastic showdown. And it is foreshadowed right at the start of the film. He even says to Rey's, like when Rey is begging Luke to come back, so, you know, the First Order can be stopped, and he says basically, you just expect me to you know, pull out my laser sword and face down the First Order. And then that's literally what he does at the end of the film. It's very cheeky, but it looks beautiful. That's one thing I will definitely say for sure about this film, is that it looks incredible. The cinematography is stunning. Visual effects are very good, but just the way this film is shot, Rian Johnson as a director has made some excellent choices, and the cinematography I really just adored throughout this entire film. It's a beautiful film, at least to watch, you know, on a physical, like, superficial level. It's gorgeous. But yeah, so Luke dies at the end of the film because, you know, the power it took for him to force project himself for that long across that distance took it out of him, and he you know, he merged with the Force. I think, you know, that's why he doesn't die, because I feel like we all know we're probably gonna see his Force ghost in episode 9. So yeah, so he, you know, fades into the Force, and Yoda, of course, would have taught him how to do that, or Obi-Wan, you know, he would have had conversations with their Force ghosts over the years, you know, so yeah. But that last scene, though, I've just got to say, that last scene of him sitting on that rock staring out a binary sunset, and the theme plays, that iconic theme. His story begins with him on Tatooine staring out into the distance at the twin suns, at that binary sunset, with that same theme playing, and now his story ends in almost the exact same way. Oh, I'm getting chills. Like, say what you will about this movie, if you like it or you don't, I don't care, but you cannot deny how freaking awesome that is. Like, that is quality filmmaking right there. Yeah, gives me chills. Gives me absolute chills. God, yeah, there's a couple of, you know, there's a lot of sadness in this film. There's a lot of bright moments, but there's a lot of dark and sad moments in this film, and I cried a couple of times. I mean, that moment made me cry, because I was like, oh, this is powerful stuff. But, you know, yeah, we lose Admiral Akbar in this film, and that's one of the other things I don't like about The Last Jedi, that I still have a problem with, is the way he's death is dealt with. And a lot of the fans agree with me. A lot of fans do, because it was just kind of, you see him in 1 or 2 scenes, I think, before his death, and he's blown out into space, and that's it. But what I love, and what a lot of people I know that I've talked to my friends about this, is the fact that if they'd written it as bloody, instead of creating Vice Admiral Holdo, played by Laura Dern very well, and I really like Laura Dern, put her in anything and I'll watch it, she's awesome. But if they had not created that role and had Akbar in that position, I mean, yeah, okay, Holdo was created for this film to put the doubt in, Poe's eyes and the audience's eyes, which I kind of, pissed me off in 2017. Now, not so much. Didn't really bother me. It just kind of more bothered me that Poe was so resistant to Holdo. And I'm just like, dude, you've been demoted from commander to captain. You don't need to know everything. So slow your roll. I know you're awesome. You're the best pilot in the Resistance, and you're a stand-up gentleman. But no. Shh. Zip it. Shh. Yeah, so that's why she's there, but you could have at least kept her around, have her leave with the Resistance ships and go to Crate, and leave Admiral Akbar behind on the ship for that exceptional shot of the light speed jump through Snoke's ship and the force, the forces of the First Order, those ships. That shot is just so good, and it was good 2 years ago, and it is still good now, and I still can't get over how great it is. And the fact that all of the sound just gets sucked out. That's the one, say what you will about bombs dropping in space, fair enough, but that scene with no sound and just the zoom of the ship, and then the light and it's splitting, and the quick cuts in the shots, it doesn't linger on one single frame of it. It changes, and it really emphasizes the effect on this moment, and the fact that Holdo sacrificed herself to stop the First Order from destroying the Resistance, because they were literally about to do that. They would not have made it. But it's just so good. And yeah, great that Holdo goes from, oh, maybe she's not so great after all, to actually being I keep saying stand up, stand out. She's actually really a great heroine. But if they'd done that with Akbar, if they'd gotten Admiral freaking Akbar, it's a trap Akbar, to do that, would have been perfect. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, another thing that would have been perfect is if they had managed to fit Lando Calrissian into this movie instead of DJ. Because, as we know, Lando loves to gamble, loves to play games. Now, wouldn't it have made sense if this unknown master codebreaker that Maz Kanata told Finn and Poe about, if it had been Lando Calrissian in Canto Bight that they'd gone to meet, that would have made more sense. Even not have Justin Theroux there, even just get Billy D. Williams just to have that spot so we know he's still around, because a lot of people, I think, at the times these movies have come out, I think it's just weird that he's not there, because he played such a vital role in Return of the Jedi, especially in the Rebellion's victory. So why not have him anyway? But that would have been really cool to have him there instead of Justin Theroux or instead of DJ, and kind of work it out. Apparently Rian Johnson said there was no way to fit him into the script properly to do him justice, so I'm like, whatever. But he's going to be in episode 9, so it's okay. Now, to get onto the sadness, and hopefully I don't cry, this was Carrie Fisher's final film, and that really sucks, and I'm gonna cry. There's some powerful stuff in this movie, because, we were all wondering, that was one of the other big things, we were all wondering how they were going to handle her passing, because, the film was still in production when she died, and I mean, I think most of the principal photography had been completed. I think there were reshoots down the track, but I think she'd done all of her scenes by then. So then everyone was kind of wondering what was the story gonna, do with her. And it's sad now that we know that J.J. Abrams said that episode 9, she was going to play a huge part in the ending of the saga. She was going to have this huge shining moment or moments. She was going to be very pivotal, and sadly that's not going to. I mean, apparently she still is going to be pivotal in some aspect, but not the way she was originally supposed to, and that's really, really sad. But yeah, the one thing about Leia in this film, and she's great, and it was again like with Mark Hamill, with General Leia, it was Leia Organa. It was so good to see Carrie Fisher in such a prominent role in this movie, because she wasn't in Force Awakens much. She was a bit, but not much. So she got a lot more to do in this film, and she was awesome. However, I think they could have handled her Deus Ex Machina from space, the Force moment after she got blasted out into space. They could have handled that a bit better, because, I guess it's assumed that between the events of Return of the Jedi and now that Luke, also helped to train her and bring out her Force-sensitive side, and, have her, you figure out how to, interact with the Force and use the Force and all that stuff. So that makes sense. But it was just very far-fetched. It was just a little bit too much of a stretch, I think, for the audience to make that connection, unless you're like diehard Star Wars fans. And even the diehard Star Wars fans didn't love that. Especially because I don't know about you guys, but I was just like, as soon as I saw her go blast out into space, I was like, okay, that's it. I literally remember sitting there in the cinema thinking, that's the last time we see Carrie Fisher as Leia getting killed that way. I was just like, alright, I guess that makes sense. May as well kill her off now. Sadly, I don't want her to be killed off, but, life sucks. And yeah, that fortunately I guess didn't come to pass, but I know it's so tricky. It's so tricky. But I'm glad she didn't die, and I'm excited to see her in this film. But yeah, just I'm gonna get emotional. There's just so many moments in this film with her, and the music plays, like her theme, Han's theme plays, and it's beautiful, but it's just so bittersweet, Fuck. Sorry, I just really miss her a lot. I know we all do, but it's just, it's just very powerful, the way this movie portrayed Leia, and the use of the music, the use of John Williams' score is just superb. It's always superb, but just, in these moments when these characters are going through these pivotal moments in their lives, it just really helps to emphasize the importance of these moments. And, when she's floating out in space, and then when her and Luke are reunited, and he says, God, he says no one's ever really gone. And he gives her the dice from the Millennium Falcon. And I'm bawling. And I'm bawling again now, but no, I'm sorry, it's just not fair. Anyway. That's enough. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. God, I don't even know what else. I should probably wrap up, just because I've talked for over half an hour about all my little theories and connections and symbolism and metaphors and parallels and stuff. I haven't really gone too much into the actual story, but it's a good film. It's better than you remember. I enjoyed it. a lot more the second time around. It's not perfect. There's some bad ADR, there's some shoddy CG in a couple of shots that hasn't aged well in the last 2 years, but whatever, I don't care. Apparently the Porgs were created because the island where Arcto was filmed is just filled with puffins, and they weren't allowed to really do anything about the puffins, like move them or anything, so they CGI'd Porgs over them. So almost every time you see a Porg on the island of Arcto, it's a puffin being CG'd. I thought that was pretty interesting. Porgs are pretty cute too, by the way. They're no Baby Yoda, they're no Baby Groot, but they're cute nonetheless. What else could I talk about? Oh yeah, here's the other point I was going to mention. When I cried when R2-D2 played the original "Help me Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope" message from Leia back in A New Hope, and then Luke's like, that was a cheap move, I think he says, to get him to train Rey and to help them. So that was really powerful, and that moved me as well. God, where do I have... What do I have else to mention? Oh yeah, Joaquin Phoenix was almost in this movie. He was offered the role of DJ. That went to Benicio del Toro. He turned it down, didn't want to do it. Fair enough. I love the fact that Yoda is not CG, he is a puppet. They brought Frank Oz back out of retirement to do Yoda, to play Yoda in this film. Awesome choice, good job guys. The only interesting thing about it is the fact that the Force ghostness of him is not the same as the Force ghost of him at the end of Return of the Jedi. I don't know if that's just a choice they made, or they couldn't fully recreate, I don't know. They could have recreated the original image if they wanted to, but it's still, the fact that he's a puppet and not a CG character is a very good choice, and I'm very happy about that. It was also very good to see Yoda in this film, because nobody knew. I think maybe it leaked just before the premiere, but I didn't know going into watching it, and that was a delicious surprise to see Yoda appear to Luke one more time. So there's not enough Captain Phasma in this movie. She barely gets anything to do, and apparently that's just because there was so much going on in this movie. The original cut of this movie was over 3 hours long, 3.5 to 4 hours. It's a 2.5 hour movie as its final cut stands, so I can understand why Rian Johnson says he couldn't fit Phasma in anywhere else. So what she does get is really good. The fight between her and Finn is awesome. I love it. It's fantastic. Gwendolyn Christie is awesome. It's just a shame that she dies in this, and I mean, you know, we see her fall through flames, so I'm guessing she's dead, but, you know, this is a sci-fi fantasy film we're dealing with, so who knows, she could come back. But I was sad to see her go, because I really like her character. Yeah, gosh, what else could I... I mean, the fact that Poe and Rey only meet for the first time at the end of this film, like, wouldn't they have met off screen, or, you know, like after Rey returned from Starkiller Base after Han's death, you know, and Poe was also there on the bait, like, wouldn't they have met then? But then again, you know, Last Jedi literally picks up right after Force Awakens ends, and they're escaping the exact same base they just all got to, so, yeah, which is another interesting thing. This is like the first time any Star Wars film, like sequel, has picked up straight after the other one finished, because they're all generally there's always a number of years between each film. This was the first one that's a direct, exact, like, you know, maybe an hour later kind of sequel, so, which is interesting. Rose, okay, I want to talk about Rose Tico before I wrap up. Rose does not deserve the hate. Kelly Marie Tran does not deserve any of the hate. I think she's wonderful. She played Rose lovely. Better the second time around again than the first time around. I thought, yeah, I don't understand what they're trying to do with any kind of romance in this movie, because the way, like, Finn literally says Rey as soon as he wakes up at the start of this film, and then the entire time Rey is away from Finn, all she wants to say, like, to, you know, get Chewie to send, or BB-8, I think, not BB-8, no, it's Chewie, and R2-D2 to send messages to the Resistance to like see how they're doing, and she's like, oh, and also ask them how Finn's doing, and tell Finn this for me, blah blah blah. So she's very concerned about Finn. So I'm like, what's going? There's that, and then Rose is introduced, and she has a crush on Finn quite clearly. She says she loves him and kisses him and all that stuff. But then I don't know if it's entirely reciprocated. But then at the end of the film, you see Finn kind of looking after Rose, and Rey's watching. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on there. That's fine. It doesn't need any romance. I don't care. We can have it. We cannot. I'm not fussed either way. But I like Rose as a character, and it's sad that she lost her sister, and I think she's a brave woman, and I enjoyed all of her scenes, so I can't wait to see her in episode 9. Yeah. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, I'm looking at all of my notes, and I'm like, yep, no, I think I've mentioned everything I want to mention. So, thank you so much for watching. We will reconvene next week with the culmination, the conclusion, the end of the Skywalker saga, episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to a midnight screening here in Melbourne on the Wednesday night, Thursday morning, so keep your eyes peeled for a reaction video immediately after the screening. I'm going to try and put up something. If not, watch this space for episode 9's epic ramble review. That will probably be very, very long. This has been 40 minutes long. Who knows how long I'll talk about Rise of Skywalker for, but we'll see. I can't wait. Less than a week to go, kids, less than a week to go. All right. With that, thank you so much for watching. I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings as well as my crying and general sadness, but that was awesome. Okay. May the Force be with you. See you around, kid.